Okay, I'm going to do a YouTube video on how to rebuild the carburetors on a Honda BF25A. So I think it's a 2001 year model engine. This is it. I will do the best I can. Okay, the first thing to do is to disconnect the breather hose here, this clamp. Then the linkage, which is here and down here for the choke, the throttle and the choke linkage. Then the next thing to do is to find the 6 nuts or bolts that hold the entire intake assembly on, which is here, there, up in there, right there, and there. And you're going to take this thing off as an assembly because it's much easier to get it off and work with it than is to try to take off the breather by itself. There's a hidden nut down inside, so we'll do that now, and then we'll have the whole assembly off on a table. Things I failed to point out is you need to also remove the the fuel lines. There's one there. There's one right inside there going to the carburetors. That'll be the 2. It feeds all 3 carburetors. There's a Y in this bottom one that feeds the other one. And also to remove the choke, you just hold the linkage with a pair of needle nose pliers, and then you can push forward on that, and then it drops through, and this back one just pops off. So now we're ready to remove the 6 bolts or nuts on the intake. Some are bolts. That one's a nut. The top and the bottom one are nuts. The 4 middle ones are bolts. Okay, now that we've disconnected or removed all the bolts, the hoses, the linkage, we're ready to remove the entire manifold as one piece. I'll try to do that now. That's the entire assembly removed. We'll take it to the workbench and work on it next. Okay, this is my second time taking this apart, so hopefully I'll be able to do a little better video. But the things I didn't do the first time that I would recommend after reading some posts are that you need to get an intake gasket because mine tore taking it apart. This is the intake gasket, and the part number is right there. You can read that. And then the second thing that I needed was is these jet nozzles, they call them. And the jet nozzle, you'll see when we're taking the carburetors apart, there's 3 of them because there's one for each carburetor, and there's the part number on those. And those are kind of pricey, $20 a piece. But I think it'll make all the difference in the world to make the engine idle better. So in addition to that, I went ahead and got a inline filter. It has nothing to do with the carburetors. It's just the filter before it gets to the fuel pump. So that's the inline filter. Take plenty of pictures before you take your engine or your carburetors apart. I just think it's good for reference. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the manifold, the air compartment here, these 2 screws, screw here, and then I will start recording in. We'll show you the carburetors, but be very slow and deliberate and just take good pictures and keep up with your parts. Okay, I removed the 2 bolts, the top and bottom, remove the breather cover, and the next step, I'm going to remove these 6 bolts here that hold the silencer, I guess the breather cover, onto the front of the carburetors. That's the next step. Be very aware of all these linkages so that you can put them back in the correct order there is a orientation, up orientation. This is marked. This one has to go that, that direction. It can flip around, but it would be wrong. And just keep an eye on everything, how it goes before you take it apart. The next thing I'm going to do, I've taken these bolts out. The 3 bottoms are loose. I'm going to take this plastic arm and flip it out of the way so I can then lift off the linkage and free the front cover. And then all of these should be free enough to let that breather the cover come all the way off. So be careful with the gaskets. I don't have a gasket for this front one, so I need to be careful with that one. But so that'll come off as an assembly, and just keep the gasket in the correct orientation. Being careful. That came off easier on mine because, like I said, this is the second time I've had mine apart. Now the next thing to do is to pop this synchronizing linkage off. What it's called, but anyway, just gently pry it up. And it's marked on there up, so you can know it goes to the top, pointing to the top. Now all that's free, and this snaps free, all 3 of these. So I'm going to snap that free slowly. And then remember how that one goes in that orientation, so put that over. Now, for the most part, all your carburetors are free. You do have your fuel lines attached at the back, which this one is by itself. This one has a Y going to the top 2. So next thing we're gonna do is pull each individual carburetor out, and I like to make sure I leave them, mark them, so either mark from the top down 1, 2, 3, or the bottom up 1, 2, 3, whatever you prefer. I should say on the other side of the assembly, there are these tubes as well. I don't know if those are vent tubes or I'm not sure what those. I think they're probably vent tubes. But anyway, you just need to make sure you remove all those. They don't have any kind of a clip on them or anything. They just slide on. The fuel lines do. I use a little spring hook to grab these and just pull them open to remove those from the carburetors. Those are the fuel lines. Carburetors removed from the intake, and I'm just going to leave all the gaskets and everything in place. I don't want to tear them up. They look pretty good. And earlier I was talking about, it didn't matter. I didn't say it didn't matter, but just make sure you do keep the carburetors in order, because each one has unique stuff on them, I think, that would not allow you to interchange them. So this is definitely, I think this is the bottom one. It is, and its linkage goes into the throttle linkage, so be careful with that. It has its own unique vent hose. This is the middle one, and the top one. These other two could possibly be interchanged, but I wouldn't take a chance and do it. So I've got that separate. I'm just leaving all this together like it is. This is some silicone that I had used when I rebuilt them the first time and did not replace the jet nozzles. I'm going to clean all that off and use my new gasket and install the new jet nozzles. I'll show you how to take it apart. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the 4 screws and take the bowl off, and that's where we'll get to the jet nozzles and see everything. I've already cleaned them thoroughly the first time. I'm going to double check them and make sure they're just good and clean while I have them apart. But I'm hoping the majority of my problem is coming from the jet nozzles. People say that they can get hairline cracks and fail, and you want to know it. So I will next start taking the carburetor apart. Okay, this is the bowl. I took the 4 screws out, removed the bowl. The next thing that I do is I, I don't even need to, I don't really have to remove the float. I've already removed the float the first cleaning, where I didn't replace the jet nozzle. But if you want to remove the float, it's just a matter of pushing the pin out, um, which is just a matter of pull that out, pull the pin out, the float will lift right off. It's got the needle and the seat, I've already cleaned that. The next part that's critical, I cleaned all any little holes and passageways. The next thing is, this is the this is the jet nozzle, and I forget the other name, but there's a part in there. But and the other thing I need to make sure is I put it back in there correctly, and I did on that one. You can see how that part is made. This goes toward the bottom of the, pointing to the bottom. This is your little jet nozzle. I'm not sure the best way to get that out, but what I did is I took a pair of needle nose pliers and kind of just lifted up gently. I didn't squeeze hard I didn't want to mess up the actual tube. That one's in there harder than I would have guessed. You can see down in there what I'm doing. Wow. They came out easier actually the first time. Oh, I think it was caught on that edge. I think it was stuck on that, hitting that ridge. I need to center it. Wow. Well, it's almost like it's stuck in there. I didn't have that much trouble getting it out the first time. I'll check on that and let you know what I do to fix it. Okay, it came right out. I just used the needle nose pliers and pushed it a little harder. But this is the jet nozzle that they talk about replacing. It has some really tiny, tiny holes in the edges of it. You can almost not see on the camera maybe. It has a O-ring at the bottom where it seats in here. So the jet nozzle goes in like that. This tube goes on top of that like that. And this cap holds it all in place. So this is the part I'm going to be replacing on all three carburetors. If you need to clean your carburetors, I'd recommend, a tiny piece of wire, taking out, this, I think it's pilot hole or pilot jet, whatever it is, cleaning them all. I've cleaned them all with carb cleaner, run it through all the different tubes, blown compressed air through it. I've done all that already, but you can watch other videos, it'll show you, but you'll just need to check all the holes that are on the carburetors and just make sure you can blow a good steady stream of carburetor cleaner through them to make sure you've gotten all the junk out. Sometimes you need a little wire, like I said, to do that. But so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it all back together with the new jet nozzles, and next thing I'm gonna be doing is running the boat to see if now it idles. It ran fine, but it just didn't idle as smoothly as I thought it should for a 3-cylinder 25 Honda 4-stroke. These tubes, these jet nozzles they call them, this is the old one and this is the new one that I'm putting in. And I don't want to mess with the new one, but the old one, as an example, this is a piece of wire from a network cable called Cat 5 cable, and I think it's 24 gauge. I have stripped the insulation off of it, and these openings in these nozzles are so small that it won't even go through that opening, and I can kind of see light through it, so I think it's okay. It's so small that this is a strand of wire from a individual strand. That's how small they are. They'll go through there, but the other wire, 24 gauge wire, will not fit through there. So there's the wire going through. It's just super tiny openings, Someone said they're very hard to clean, even though those are the ones that also have the tiny hairline cracks in them. So that's why I'm suggesting replacing these, and hopefully this is going to fix my problem. I don't see any other apparent problems. While you have it open, obviously I'm not replacing these tubes. You want to clean all the little openings, run wire through it, clean it with carb cleaner and everything. But I'm hoping that's going to resolve it. I'll let you know. Talk about adjusting on carburetors is the float height. And I hope I'm giving this information correctly and showing the correct way to do it, but this is just a little micrometer I've set to 14 millimeters. And then you can check with the float, with the carburetor upside down, the float touching where it closes off, the needle closes off the gas when the bowl's full. So this is set to 14 millimeters. And that's very close, almost dead on. So I'm not going to bother adjusting that. So I've got it set at 14. I am doing that to the base of the carburetor, to the mounting plate or mounting area where the bowl goes, and checking that for 14 millimeters. I think that's probably worth doing, but if you're very easy taking the carburetors apart, you should not have to adjust that. Just be careful. If it does have to be adjusted, you adjust this little brass looking tab up or down, bend it a little bit. The bowls, I cleaned them already, so they're clean, but I would clean those, take out the drain hole screws and clean those as well. Clean all the openings. I would tell you that you don't have to worry about the orientation. You can't put them back on wrong. This straight edge here on the bowl, the bottom of the bowl, covers the pin to keep it from sliding in and out, because there's no retention mechanism on the pin, so it's going to go in just like that edge right behind the pin, and that holds everything in. And you screw that on. Check, make sure your gasket's not messed up. These gaskets are rather expensive, but I'm not replacing them. But I don't have a problem with leaking either, so I think they're going to be fine. Okay, everything is back on. I'm going now for a water test to see how it runs. This is after the rebuild. This is starting it. So here goes. I'd taken the kill switch out last night. Let me go get the kill switch and put that in there. Okay, I'd forgotten to put the kill switch back in, so I'm going to do that. And now we're going to try to start it. And that's from a dead cold start, and I think she's running like a champ. I ran her some yesterday, and I'm very pleased. So I hope this video has been helpful and informative. A lot of videos on YouTube would help me, so I wanted to try to publish one. Thanks, and have a great day.